Hello, it's Dr. Rhonda Johnson. Today is Sunday, October 4th, 2020, and today I'm going to be discussing the COVID-19 vaccine and vaccine controversies. But before I go into the vaccine, it's helpful to go over the basics of understanding how viruses invade the body and attack the immune system. So, a little bit about viruses. A virus is an invisible organism that can only be seen under powerful microscopes. A virus cannot live on its own. It requires a host, like people, plants, or animals, to make more of itself. During an infection, a virus will hijack your cells and use them to multiply itself. Then the new viruses go and spread throughout your body and then out into the world, find somebody else, and do the same thing all over again. So, how does the virus make us sick? Well, when the virus uses resources, your resources, to make more of itself, this process damages your cells, which damages your organs, uses up the nutrients that are needed to run our bodies, and in response, our body activates the immune system, which is the system that fights off infection. This whole defensive action can trigger processes like inflammation, fever, and drain resources from your body that will make you feel sick. Now, if a person has been previously infected or they have been vaccinated, their immune system will remember this invading virus and fight back. Now, that fight is powerful, and it involves antibodies and T cells, those killer cells that are produced in the immune system. And they also involve a lot of chemicals such as bradykines and cytokines. These defenses help protect the body from the virus to keep it from spreading. For the process to work correctly, our immune system has to be healthy, and the amount of virus that gets into our system will hopefully be small enough so that our virus can contain it and it won't overwhelm it. That's something called the viral load. If it all works correctly, the invading virus gets bound up by antibodies and your killer T cells will kill the virus. But now if the virus wins the battle, it's not too good for us. We don't make it. So on to the coronavirus vaccine. But first, again, we'll start at the beginning. What's a vaccine? Think of a vaccine as a preseason game or a dress rehearsal on the immune system. Vaccines give the body a sneak peek at one or more key features of the virus before the actual virus barges in, takes over, and does the whole process I just talked about. When you get a vaccine, your immune system develops a memory of this virus. And then when the real thing comes along, it's ready. So for the coronavirus vaccine, let's again be reminded that coronaviruses got their name because under the microphone, they have these proteins on the outside of their cells that look like spikes and like a crown. So these vaccines will latch either directly or indirectly onto the spike protein that makes these coronaviruses unique. And then once it gets prepped, the immune system actually recognizes the coronaviruses, interferes with this multiplication processes, and calls into other parts of the immune system. So it triggers a whole immune process. The end game is to stop SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes this COVID-19, from getting inside your cells, replicating, and making you sick. Now, there are at least 90 different coronaviruses under development throughout the world. They use different approaches, but absolutely none of these vaccines involve using live viruses that can multiply and cause you to have COVID-19. Basically, they prime the immune system, get it activated, so that when the real thing comes along, you're ready. Now, vaccine testing is the phase that we're in now. It's called these clinical trials, this whole process. Clinical trials start with small little studies in animals to determine if this virus works and doesn't kill the animals, and then larger and larger trials with people. Now we're in phase 3 trials for many of these vaccines, which involves large numbers of people to see if the vaccine generates an immune response, making sure it doesn't have side effects, and, again, generates that immune response to this virus. So researchers are accelerating the steps, and they hope to have a vaccine ready by the end of 2020 or early part of 2021. So in the United States, this whole initiative to develop the COVID-19 vaccine is called Operation Warp Speed, a $10 billion initiative by President Trump to accelerate the development of COVID-19 vaccines and therapeutics. Now, very little is known about Operation Warp Speed, except for there is a large U.S. military presence, roughly 60 military officials, including at least 4 generals, who are leaders in a leadership capacity of Operation Warp Speed. Many of these military leaders have advanced training in logistics and deployment, but they don't have healthcare or vaccine development experience. But again, Operation Warp Speed's central goal is to develop, produce, and distribute 300 million doses of a coronavirus vaccine by January 2021. They have deals with 6 major drug companies hoping to develop COVID-19 vaccines. Now, this is pretty significant because there has never been a vaccine made for coronavirus yet, and scientists have been trying to do so for over a decade. So now I'll get into the issue of controversy. And one of the big controversies involve mistrust by the public of the coronavirus vaccine. And some of it has to be, is due to the rapid development of this corona vaccine. It's creating widespread distrust and vaccine hesitancy from the public. It looks like many people are going to have to be persuaded to actually get the vaccine. There have been many polls saying that a growing number of people say they are not going to get this vaccine. Distrust is great in the African American community and in groups such as these anti-vaxxers. People in these polls are saying they lack trust in the Trump administration, they lack trust in big pharmaceutical companies, they lack trust in the CDC, and they lack trust in the FDA, the organization that's supposed to oversee the safety of this vaccine. The hesitancy about the COVID vaccine crosses racial lines. Although many African Americans continue to cite their recollection of the Tuskegee experiments, where African American men were allowed to stay infected with syphilis, even though penicillin was a known cure for this disease. But this anti-corona vaccine, again, it crosses racial lines, socioeconomic backgrounds, educational backgrounds, and political affiliations. Now that creates a problem because as of today, if this vaccine were available, it doesn't seem like the vaccine will save us or restore us to the life we knew or return us to any pre-pandemic if the majority of people refuse to take it. Coronavirus vaccine skepticism is real. I personally hear people say all the time, let somebody else go first in line. I'm not going to be the first one in line for this new vaccine. But here's the paradox, and we must remember this. Sadly, the only remedy for this global pandemic is a vaccine. And we have to get 7 billion people in this world vaccinated. We will never have herd immunity because the virus is so contagious and deadly for so many people. And we don't know who's going to get the virus and live. And right now, we don't know who's going to get the virus and die. And we don't understand why this is. So clearly, there's going to have to be major effort to get out there, listen to the concerns of the public, and address uncertainties around the speed of the development of the vaccine safety, a lot of misinformation, vaccine access, allocation, and cost. This is Dr. Rhonda Johnson. My views are my own. I hope this has been helpful to everyone. And stay informed, stay connected, folks. Stay safe. Right now, we only have the 3 W's to keep us from getting this virus. Stay calm and stay alive. My views are my own. Have a blessed day.